I've owned the original Varla Eagle One for almost 3 years now, and even with all the other scooters I've owned and reviewed in that time, the Eagle One has been the scooter I've ridden the most. I've made 14 videos with it and beaten the ever-living snot out of it both on and off of camera. It has withstood all my abuse, had basically zero issues, and as a result, it's been a scooter that I've recommended for a long time. I doubt there's anyone that has done more with their Eagle One or knows the scooter better than I do. So when I say that the new Eagle One 2.0 is better than the original in almost every possible way, that should tell you how great this scooter is. I've been testing this new version for over 2 weeks now, and it's clear that Varla has upgraded the Eagle One across the board, making it the best it's ever been. And with the launch discount, you can get it at the cheapest it has ever been. It's linked down in the description where you can get it for $200 off its retail price for a limited time. The new design captures the essence of the original while making it finally look at home next to the Pegasus and the Eagle One Pro. The original Eagle One was one of the many rebadges of the Unicool T10 DDM, but now Varla's dual motor lineup consists of nothing but unique models. Taking the positive aspects and features of the Pro, folding those into a smaller, more manageable package, and combining that with a very reasonable price is a combo that makes the Eagle One so compelling. The Eagle One 2.0 is still available in the classic red color, but I had to go with the new blue color option to match my logo colors. Before I look at the components, features, and performance, I want to look at the most tangible difference with the new model, the build quality. Like I said, I was able to beat up the old Eagle One without breaking anything, but the new model has a rock solid feel that the previous one just didn't have. There's no stem flex, thanks to the thicker steering tube and better locking mechanism. There are no hints of body flex or plasticky groans, and it's just an overall chunkier, more well-built scooter. The dimensions are also great, with plenty of space for my feet, a flat, comfortable rear tail, and tall handlebars that rise up a whopping 42 inches above the riding platform, keeping me in a great, relaxed riding position the whole time. For reference, I'm 6'1". The new suspension keeps the comfortable floaty feel that the original had, while improving upon it with less bounce and rebound. This, with the updated build quality, makes potholes and other bumps at full speed a breeze for it to handle. It has a decidedly more stable, solid feel at high speed and while cornering. The tires are 10 inches in diameter, a good balance of ride comfort and portability, while getting a much needed upgrade of being tubeless. This means no pinch flats and decreased chance of puncture flats. Tire sealant also works significantly better on tubeless tires. Tire profile is less rounded than before, which makes for better traction, while not being so flat that it affects the cornering feel. The new version steals features from both the Pegasus and the Pro, starting with the new center display. A display like this is pretty standard by now for scooters at this price, but it's a huge upgrade over the small little circle display built into the throttle of the old model. And speaking of the throttle, the Eagle One now has the thumb throttle that the Pro has and that most new dual motor scooters come with. It does have a bit of a dead zone, but after using this style of throttle for so long on other scooters, I've actually come to really like it. It feels like the style that gives you the most control over acceleration. Anchoring your thumb on the body of the throttle is the most comfortable and natural way to fine-tune your speed. Control over the display, riding modes, dual and single motor modes, and P settings is all done from the new button panel, which is an upgrade over the old plastic ketchup and mustard buttons. Varla has gotten rid of the key lock, thankfully, and gone the same route as the Eagle One Pro with an NFC lock. It comes with 2 fobs to unlock the scooter, or you can just do what I do and turn off the lock completely using the P settings. And before I move into performance, let's stay on the P settings for a second, because there are a couple settings you should change before riding this scooter. The biggest one is the start strength P setting 6. Like the Pegasus, the Eagle One comes with the start strength set to the lowest setting. So if this is your first scooter ever, then it might be nice to have an easy, slow takeoff as you get comfortable with riding. But I mean, it has a very slow, shallow acceleration curve out of the box, and eventually you'll want to increase the start strength. I have mine upped from 1 all the way to the maximum of 5 for an extremely snappy takeoff, but even a jump to 3 makes the Eagle One feel much more like the quick dual motor scooter that it's supposed to be. You'll also want to check that P setting 7 is set to 80 instead of 65 so that the Eagle One can get up to its max speed. Otherwise, you'll be limited to 35 miles an hour. Varla says that this is a 40-mile-an-hour scooter, but like the original, it can only break 40 miles an hour in the perfect circumstances. It's much more accurate to say that this is a 35 or 38-mile-an-hour scooter because that's a more realistic top speed on flat ground in most conditions. 35 miles an hour is a really fun speed to ride at and is honestly more than enough for most riders and for basically all practical or recreational uses. The 5 riding modes allow you to start at a slower speed and work your way up to the fastest speeds as you get more comfortable. Each riding mode caps your speed at progressively higher levels. You also have the option to switch between dual and single motor mode by holding down this plus button. Single motor mode will give you a much less aggressive acceleration curve and also will extend the range a bit. The dual 1000 watt motors offer the same motor power that the previous version had, offering plenty of power for a strong pull of acceleration and no issues with climbing hills. It has the same addicting acceleration and top speed as the original model, but the new model makes huge improvements in the range. I always range test my scooters in the highest riding mode with the fastest acceleration settings, so my range numbers reflect the minimum range you can expect to get. The Eagle One version 1 gave me 15.8 miles of range, which by 2023 standards is a little low. The Eagle One 2.0 with the same settings and with the acceleration P setting maxed out at 5 gave me exactly 20 miles of range, a nearly 5-mile improvement over the previous version. Keep in mind that riding at a lower average speed, using a lower acceleration setting, or riding in single motor mode will extend your range. In my full review of the Eagle One V1, I said,
"The more I ride, the more I feel like I need closer to 20 miles of range to fully complete a lot of the rides I want to do. I've run out of battery on longer rides more often than I would like."
And now the Eagle One fulfills that request, finally shoring up its biggest performance weakness. For both the Eagle One V1 and the Eagle One Pro, Varla started off with mechanical disc brakes as the standard brake option, but on both models, feedback from reviewers and customers pushed them to start shipping their models with hydraulic disc brakes. They didn't make that same mistake here, starting off with hydraulic brakes as the default option, and I'm very glad to see it. Hydraulic disc brakes require less day-to-day maintenance and offer better stopping power than their cable-driven counterparts. I consider hydraulic brakes a requirement on any dual motor scooter at this level, and these do a great job for both small speed adjustment and quick hard braking. As I talked about a little at the beginning of this review, the ride comfort of the new Eagle One has been improved quite dramatically. The steering is smooth and not overly stiff, while preventing speed wobble at high speeds. It also loses the notched steering that the old version had that I didn't really like. The new geometry distributes your weight further back, making cornering more stable, and the suspension makes for an extremely pleasant cruising feel even at the top speeds. The first Eagle One had a bit of a raw, lawless feel to it at times, and the new version takes that energy and wrangles it into a precise, confidence-inspiring package that I love riding. If you're familiar with my channel, then you might have seen one of a number of videos I did off-roading with the Eagle One V1. While I haven't put the V2 through the same things I put the old one through, it has held up just as well in my testing so far. It feels just as capable off-road as the V1. The only small thing I encountered while off-roading was the folding mechanism vibrating loose. The stem can't fold down while riding thanks to the safety pin, but I did have to stop to tighten the mechanism once. Once I cranked down the lock tightly and properly, it didn't loosen up for the rest of my ride, so be sure to properly tighten the stem lock before riding. The rear suspension coil on the V1 had a bit more travel, but the V2 makes up for this with better overall suspension feel and a more rigid, solid build. I'm excited to see how it continues to hold up in rougher off-road riding. Portability is about the same as the V1 with similar length, height, and weight, but the V2 has a deck latch to keep the handlebars from moving around when the scooter is folded. I might be biased because I've been hauling 100-pound plus scooters up and down my stairs to my apartment for the past month, but the Eagle One feels really manageable to carry around. Not overly large or overly heavy, especially given the performance that it packs. The IP54 dust and water resistance rating makes it okay for dirt riding, puddles, and light rain, but don't leave it out uncovered in the elements. The fenders are made of hard plastic and do a great job of protecting you from water kick-up. They're installed solidly and don't make any rattling noises and don't rub against the wheels at all. The last few features to look at real quick are the lights. The rear brake lights are not super visible, but they do wrap around the edges of the deck a bit to try and increase visibility. The headlight though is fantastic. big, bright, and mounted high to make it actually usable for night riding. There's also ambient lighting on the sides of the riding platform that you can turn on by holding down the minus button for a few seconds. You can cycle through the different lighting patterns with the light button. I'm personally baffled with how little I have to critique with this scooter, but here are a few small criticisms that I do have. First, the front suspension was quite squeaky out of the box, which was annoying for my first ride out on it, but a little grease eliminated the squeak completely. However, the noise that I can't get rid of fully without modifying the scooter is the metal clicking from the stem click and the ring on the safety pin. They tend to just continually tap against the scooter the whole time I'm riding. Both issues are solved with a bit of tape to keep them in place, but if you're constantly folding and unfolding the scooter, then this solution doesn't work and you'll just have to deal with the noise. You can tell that Varla actually tried to solve this issue with a magnet for the stem clip, but the magnet just isn't strong enough to keep it in place. Overall though, this is a tiny issue that has no effect on my review of the scooter. I'm just getting a little nitpicky at this point because I'm having trouble finding things that I really dislike about the scooter. I figured that the Eagle One would eventually get an upgrade, and I had a bit of a mental checklist for what I wanted the new model to have and what I wanted it to be. Varla basically checked off everything I was hoping the new Eagle One would be. As good as the old Eagle One was, I was starting to have a hard time recommending it because it was just outdated. Now they have an Eagle One that feels fresh and modern and is once again an easy recommendation from me, especially at this price. There's a reason that the Eagle One has sold so well, being an extremely capable and fun electric scooter that is a large step up from the entry-level stuff without being a huge step up in price. This will no doubt continue with it getting such a solid upgrade across the board. You can check it out the link below where it's $200 off for a short time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.